So there's this guy called Robert Fughum, philosopher, writer, and transformation agent. Remarkable man. Robert Fughum writes that he was attending a conference on the island of Crete. It was at the Center for Attitudinal Healing. It was started by Professor Alexander Papanderos, professor of philosophy at the University in Athens. It's a week-long seminar, and at the end of the week, delegates are like really tired of this now, philosophy for a week, and it's the closing session. They've not seen Professor Papanderos yet, and didn't expect to have the opportunity to meet them. It was a bit of a disappointment. Closing session comes, and the presenter tells him that he has a surprise. In walks Professor Papanderos. Robert Fughum says that he was a man short in stature, but that he filled the room with presence. He did a short presentation, and at the end said, so are there any questions? The philosophers probably have questions like, where can I get a beer? Or what time is the next ferry to the mainland? But Robert Fughum puts up his hand. He says, Professor, I have a question. He says, Professor, please, can you tell me, what is the meaning of life? Now, if you know anything about philosophy, you'll know that that's philosophy, entry level 101. The other guys are like smirking and they think that this is a joke, so they giggle and they pack up their bags. But Alexander Papanderos looks in Robert Fughum's eyes and he can see that it's not a joke. And so he says that he decides to respond. He calls the delegates all up to the bay window in the corner, where they stand and now have a view of the town, of the village down below the hill. There in the village center, there is a monument built. They can see it clearly from the bay window. It is a monument that was built for the brave Greek partisans who fought with their bare hands and their farming implements against the equally brave German soldiers who parachuted in during the Second World War when there was vicious fighting between the Germans and the Greeks. Directing their attention to the island just across the bay, they can now see the regimented lines of the metal crosses that mark the graves of the German soldiers shining in the late afternoon sun. Papanderos explains that as a young boy, he grew up on this island during the war. He explains that after the war, he came upon the wreck of a German motorcycle. All he could salvage was the shards of the rear view mirror. He says that he picked up one biggish piece and that he ground it round on a stone and that it became a toy. He says for a long time his only toy. He explained that he would use that mirror to reflect light, to shine light underneath rocks and in nooks and crannies, to sit in his room and catch the late afternoon sun and shine the light inside the cupboard or underneath the bed. Robert Fughum says that he then went into his wallet and brought out a little mirror, the original mirror. Robert Fughum says that he then caught some of the sunlight and shone it onto Robert Fughum's face and then onto his hands. And that he then explained that the mirror had become a metaphor for his life. That he realized later when he grew up that he is not the light, but that he can reflect some of the light into dark places. That he can reflect some of the light into the hearts of those who don't see the light yet, and that he can make a difference. Robert Fughum says that Alexander Papanderos gave him the mirror as a gift, and that he kept it, and that he cherishes it. You and I are not the light, but you and I can reflect some of the light. And there where it's dark, we can bring light.